Coach Wynn, how you doing there, bud? I can't hear. I can't hear you, Coach. Unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought I just did. All right. How are we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
Good.
great. We got over 50 people on the line. It's 10 minutes early, which is great. Thanks to all you guys that dialed in a little early. Coach,
On time is late. Early's on time.
exactly. If we say 7 o'clock, you want to be. If your coach says get to practice or get to a meeting at 7 o'clock, that means get there at 6:50. You get there at 7 o'clock and you're late. So we got. I'm looking at the participant list is blowing up. We got a really good group coming together, Coach. So I'm gonna Coach Tills is starting to log in and test his audio and visual and his mic. So got a great group. And we're probably, we're gonna have a couple hundred people log in the next 10 minutes. So, Coach, we just spoke on the phone and fired up about the vision for the, for the webinar. I'm gonna mute myself and kind of log out and pull my audio out and my visual out, and it'll just be you, Coach Tillman, and Coach Galloway. I'm just gonna kind of be quietly in the background in case there's like any technological difficulties. And
in case I freeze up.
yeah, I can see right now though, like the attendee count is spiking hard. So as we mentioned on our phone call, I would just reach out, maybe introduce everybody at 7 o'clock, maybe get started right around 7:02. And thanks to everybody for getting here early that's logged in and listening. I'm seeing a lot of our boys. I can see the names of the players, and we're thrilled that you're all logged in and thriving to learn and yearning to learn from the coaches that are about to share with you some advice and guidance that they have through challenging times they're going through with their own players. And it's all applicable to any challenge you're going to face in life. And Coach Wynn, Coach Tillman, and Coach Galloway will all kind of break that down, how it translates into lacrosse. It all translates into any challenge or adversity you're going to face in your life. So I'm going to mute myself and then dial out. And Coach Wynn, thanks for hosting and moderating this. Coach Tillman, thanks for logging in. I know Coach Galloway just texted me. He's going to be jumping on in just a moment. So thanks a million, guys.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Coach, you look good. My hairstylist didn't make it tonight, so.
I just showered. I got my run in earlier today. What did Dawson think of the Zoom today?
Loved it. Oh my gosh, absolutely loved it.
Right, good.
That stuff you guys are doing is just amazing. Just amazing. And it's I was here obviously, but he was like 4 o'clock, like ready, geared up, ready to. And he said you mentioned we had a conversation. He was like,
I told him we were getting ready for this thing. So
yeah, it's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
So we have an assortment of guys. Like when you get on the Zoom, some guys, like are looking good, and other guys just. And there's no protocol. I don't tell them what they do. Guys are lying in their beds,
Right.
Other guys, like, they don't realize it looks like they're in like a closet because it's so dark, and it's just kind of funny, So
favorite is the witness protection where they have someone has a light behind them, and
exactly.
It's funny. We got the same thing going on with our staff right now. We're all connecting and seeing each other. We all work remotely, and it's fun. The face-to-face human connection is awesome.
Yeah.
I think the kids need that. That's what I'm realizing. Our kids really need that,
Yes.
So we're gonna do 2 next week, Tuesday, Thursday, and I think Tuesday we're trying to get on one of our guys that graduated in 2013, who's now a Navy SEAL, and I thought that would be kind of cool for him.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, where have you gone? What have you done?
Yep.
How did lacrosse help you get ready? What I always ask the same question. Now that you're older, go back to your college self. What would you tell yourself? Like, what advice can you give these guys, to help them, because a lot of these guys, they just, like even Chris Mattis, who was on today, I mean, he's, working for the Patriots now. And it's like, I never thought I'd be doing that. I
Right.
didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's and I will say it's created some real energy, for those like, oh, who's going to be on today,
That's why I try not to tell them.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's
We
fantastic.
here at Sweetlax, we've been doing a lot of film study stuff, and we need more diversity on it. It's been like all of my Notre Dame buddies, and so if we're trying to expand beyond that. So coaches, yeah, if you've got, we're going to start to reach out to some people and connect with people, and we're really trying hard to use some of the film study stuff as ways to develop the lacrosse IQ and teach kids how to watch film ahead of college. I think that especially in Florida, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of some of our upstate programs, we've got so many boys that are wildly talented and athletic and skilled, but they're not used to watching the game and analyzing like the big picture of spatial relationships on offense and defense, and the angles of the goal and things that you can see on film. And we're seeing a real awakening in the last couple of weeks. It's almost been it hasn't almost been, it's absolutely been a major silver lining, in that it's forced us to think about how do we do a better job of teaching our players and creatively utilizing technology to enhance their understanding of the game and to maintain our relationships with them throughout the course of the year. So, so I'm gonna log off now. Looks like we got Coach Galloway on. Thank you to all you guys on behalf of everybody at Sweetlax, and we're looking forward to the next 45 minutes to an hour. And Coach Wynn's going to take it away. Coach Tillman, Coach Galloway, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and all the boys and parents that are logged in, and we really appreciate it. So,
Thank you.
Let you guys take it.
All right, coaches, it's great to see you. Hey, everybody. It's my name's Bobby Wynn. I'm here with Coach Tillman, who for me is over the top of the screen from University of Maryland, and Coach Galloway from Jacksonville University. We're going to give a few minutes here to let everybody get logged on, we'll get rolling here very shortly. But we're excited to have you join us, and looking forward to spending some time with you guys tonight. So. I do have a little magic container here that has the trick question in it.
Ooh, you do have it.
I'm going to save that for later. See how the timing goes.
A little bit colder today.
Oh,
What do we got? Not that it's cold, but it's 50, so certainly not cold, but just a little different than it's been.
yeah, we actually had a little snow this morning. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was thinking about this. We have the East Coast pretty well covered, from Florida, a little stop off in Maryland, and head up to Connecticut. It's pretty impressive.
John looks like the smartest of all of us right now.
Without question.
Probably been at the beach today, getting a swim, distancing himself, of course.
That's right. The beach, actually, our mayor just announced they're reopening the beach tomorrow afternoon because so many people have complained about the inability to be out there, which is a little scary, but at least allows people to kind of have some space, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Well, good. Let's we're a little bit after 7. I would imagine the majority of people are logged on. We may have a few trickle in as we go, but I thought we'd go ahead and get started and just make sure we make the most of this hour that we have. And I did want to begin by obviously welcoming everybody and thanking you all for joining us tonight, and also sending our very best to you and your families, in hopes that you're all safe and healthy and doing as well as you can through this, these unprecedented times. And over the last few weeks, the Sweet Lex team has put together a number of different webinars, touched on a bunch of different things, from film study to virtual training to, practices to workouts. All that is designed to, assist the players' development and increase the lacrosse IQ, essentially. Tonight, with the help of Coach Tillman from the University of Maryland and Coach Galloway from Jacksonville University, we want to take maybe a little different approach and address kind of the here and now. And our thought process going into this is to share ideas, maybe even some strategies that will help you all kind of navigate these, unprecedented times and stressful times. And, in thinking about tonight, I was reflecting on a movie called Free Solo, and I saw kind of a behind the scenes making of it. And those who don't know it, it's a guy, Alex Hanold, who, was attempting to summit the El Capitan, which is a 900-meter vertical rock face in Yosemite National Park. And, just some kind of an idea of the size of this. I mean, it's essentially half a mile of vertical rock. And, he's talking about planning this thing out for months and months and putting all this training and time and effort into this, and, what path to take, where not to go. And he's about 3/4 of the way up, and he got himself into this position or spot where he kind of froze, and he couldn't move forward, couldn't move back, and just the enormity of the situation it just grabbed him. And we use a phrase often, this idea of paralysis by analysis. And he started thinking about, what if I don't summit this? How do I get down from here? There's no ropes, there's no anything. And then he kind of had a bit of a mind shift. His mindset changed, and he started to think about, where do I put my hand? Where can I put my foot? To just, maybe I need to just move 1 inch. And thinking of what we're all experiencing right now, I think we all are susceptible to having those moments when kind of, if we look at the, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for the next 3 months? What are we going to do? Instead of saying, okay, what can I control? What can I do right now? Where can I put my hand that's going to move me 1 inch this way or 2 feet that way, and just go handhold to handhold. And that was kind of his mindset change. And, after time, he completed the summit and was the first and only person to ever, accomplish such an amazing feat. And, I think, when I think of tonight, and I can't honestly think of two better people to kind of share this journey with this next 45 to an hour. But just, they are living it. They're living it with guys that have put a ton of time and effort and dedication into their seasons. And, I think each of the coaches tonight are going to share some incredible wisdom for you guys to help you. If you get stuck in that on that rock face and you're thinking of, oh, what am I going to do for this 3 months? Let's not think of, let's control what we can control, and where can I put my hand? What's 1 or 2 things I can do tomorrow to help me get better? And again, I'm honored and it's an amazing, humbling experience for me to share this with Coach Tillman and Coach Galloway. And I know you all didn't sign up to hear me talk, so I'm going to let you guys take over here. But, I just maybe if we start off, just maybe a pearl or two, something that you may want to share. Maybe we'll start with you, Coach Tillman, share with these guys, about, things that they should be thinking of in terms of mindset, and how to tackle this stay-at-home order.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Bobby. Obviously, excited to be here and be here with John. Obviously, one of the great coaches in the game right now. So hopefully, between the two of us, we can, give out some experiences that we've chosen to use and some things that we've learned. So we'll do the best we can to try to help. I think the big thing is realizing that it's hard for everybody right now. No one is immune to what's going on. So everybody's suffering, and and knowing that, as hard as we have it, the perspective of, the people that maybe have lost loved ones, or somebody who's in the hospital, or, the doctors and nurses and the people in the hospitals, and obviously the firemen, policemen are working overtime, all those things, it could be a lot worse. And I think that is something, that perspective helps me personally, just knowing that, would I rather be with my guys right now? Would I rather, be over at school? Absolutely. But, right now we are where we are. To your point, we're going to control the things we can control. So I think the outlook is really important. That you don't want to play victim here. It's a tough thing for everybody. I think a positive attitude, hey, I'm going to make the most of what I have. And then just having faith of, at some point we are all going to be back, to a better sense of normalcy. And it may not be perfect, but we're going to be able to do some of those things that we just can't do right now, whether it's being with our friends and, for us specific to what we do, being with our players and the people that we work with. And so just knowing that, listen, the mindset, and then the faith and the optimism, that we all need that right now. And the more each one of us takes that on, the more we can help each other when we're struggling. Because I think at certain times we're all going to struggle. You're going to miss people and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Coach Galloway, any thoughts there?
Yeah, and I don't have first, thank you for having me. This is certainly a distraction, everything that's going on. And I have found that in my time spent with my wife in our house, we found a lot of unique ways to distract each other and get away and get into separate rooms and having a lot of fun with learning from other people. And even just in our conversation the other day, preparing for this, I had a chance to just take some tidbits from Coach Wynn, as well as obviously Coach Tillman. I don't have the philosophical nugget that Coach Wynn had in the beginning, but I do watch a lot of movies, and one of my favorites is The Martian. And there's a scene in The Martian when, if you guys have a chance, and I know you guys all have plenty of time to watch movies right now, and it's an appropriate movie, I promise parents. He faces all these obstacles. I won't ruin the plot for you. And at the end of the movie, he's instructing one of his classes, and one of them obviously asked how he did it, and it was simple. He just figured out one problem at a time. And he took it one problem at a time until he found a way to survive. And to Coach Tillman's point, this isn't a situation where we're finding a way to survive. I read a great note from a veteran, a World War II veteran, about a week ago. And he just spoke about the reality that 70 years ago, they were asked to go across the world as 18-year-olds and fight in a war. And we're asking our young people to stay at home and maybe go play wall ball, or to watch some film, or to watch some movies on Netflix. And when you put things into perspective, you realize that this is not a situation that we should ever complain about. We are incredibly lucky to be in the situations that we are. I have found great humility in, losing a season and then reading the news and realizing that season, albeit heartbreaking, this is something that we do for a living, it's granular in the big picture. So if I was to add anything else, I would tell you, and I know I've told our guys a lot, is I have found that being able to create a routine has brought me back to the closest way of normalcy I've experienced in the last month. And simply having a notebook and having a plan every day, it's become sort of a challenge, an individual challenge. And I've talked a lot about it with our guys, the ability to create some self accountability and enthusiasm in this process, and to be able to create your own calendar, which, I told all our guys graduating, when they do get a job and when their careers start up again, they're not going to have that freedom, and to take advantage of all the positives that this situation has brought to us. And, I have really seen it as an opportunity and not an obstacle. And I watched probably 7 lacrosse instructional videos today. I gave one with Jamie Monroe. I listened to the rest. I've found this to be almost enlightening for me to be able to take a step back and focus on myself and how I can get better both on the lacrosse field as well as professionally as a coach.
That's great stuff. Thank you both. And one thing that I'm well aware of is we have a range of ages of players that are tuning in tonight. And I would love for you all to kind of address the oldest group, the guys that either had a season cut short like you all, or actually didn't get a chance to kind of step on a field for their senior year, and maybe just some, as they're looking forward to preparing for college, maybe some thoughts that you would share with them. Maybe Coach Galloway, we'll start with you on this one if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for a lot of seniors in high school, you guys are feeling like the victim right now, and I feel for you. There's, when you look at the grand scheme of things, right? These college kids are getting another opportunity, and you're not in a lot of ways. And you can look to become a victim there, or you can choose to become the hardest working guy in the room for the next 3 to 6 months. And I have found that everybody that I have admired in my playing career and my coaching career has at some point in the last month talked about this becoming that opportunity. What are things that you haven't been able to do? We had a Zoom call with our 2020 class today, and I can tell you that, our assistant coach texted me after and said, that's the most impact I've ever felt I've had on a recruit in our time here. And you realize that you have these small windows, these gaps of time that you didn't have in the monotony of life and your scheduling, and you didn't take time to maybe reach out to your future coach or take time to spend some time with your younger brother and develop his game. And I feel like this is one of those chances. This is one of those once in a life chances where you can take a step back and really become your best self. And I know that that's across the board, not just sports. And I hope that you guys, I'm sure you've heard it a million times from your parents and from your coaches, but I hope you take a step back and just look at the minutes in the day and wonder what you could potentially do in the next month, 2 months, 3 months to become your best self. And I can imagine that you would fill up a notebook with it. And I hope that you all do.
Thank you. Thanks. Coach Tills?
Yeah, and I think, John mentioned this before in his day today, sometimes, becoming the best version, and we'll stay with just focused on lacrosse for right now, but the best player you can be, part of it is physical. The other part of it is really what's up here. And John was a great player, still is a great player, and is a great coach. He's trying to find ways to learn and gain knowledge. So, whether it's finding an instructional video online, just going to, YouTube or something like that, watching a game, pick somebody who plays your position and just study it. And it seems like there's a lot of webinars now where, the guys are, some of them are, I think, through SweetLex, like you can watch as a really good player kind of breaks things down based on what he sees, and what a great opportunity to learn from the best, through so many different channels. And, you can learn how to watch film and, what are the things I should be looking for. And then if you're, a midfielder, you can work on both. You can work on the offensive side, you can work on the defensive side, especially as a midfielder, going into college. If you can come in as a guy that can play both ends of the field, you got a better opportunity to maybe find a role as a freshman because you're not so one-dimensional. When it comes to just skill, we are really lucky that, all you need is a wall. So, depending on where you live and, what's in your, backyard, you can get some skill work in by just going into your backyard and obviously socially distancing yourself, hitting a wall, finding something, or maybe you can't go to the high school. I know that seems to be hard. Some of our guys struggled with that. Find a wall, go to your offhand, scoop ground balls. So much of our sport it's not, the most appealing thing to tell guys, but so much of our sport is all about fundamentals. If you're fundamentally sound, you probably won't turn the ball over as much. You're probably going to be a more reliable player individually, and a guy that, coach is probably going to have more confidence in, because you maximize every opportunity, because you're not, you don't have all these bad habits that now we have to change come college. So whether it's, what you're studying film wise, what you're doing skill wise, or, find somebody that, that's playing in college, and call them, and talk to them. Hey, what did you learn this year? What were the things you came out of my high school? You're at college now. What did you learn? What can you teach me? And the great thing, whether it's Zoom or FaceTiming people, it can even be more than a call. You can see them, they can show you things. So you can be creative. And I think times like this, you need to be a little more creative, but I think John's point was great. It's an opportunity, and somebody is going to take the day and maximize the minutes in the day more than others. Why can't that be you?
This is all great stuff. That's awesome. Thank you. And I know we talked a little bit about kind of, the idea of wall ball and things like that. I'm wondering if there are any ideas or strategies, other than that you may have, or some ideas. Coach Tills, we'll start with you, that maybe you could share with these guys, that they could do while with kind of remaining within this, this social distancing and all that.
On top of some of the other things, depending on where you live, you can still, work on your conditioning. You can be creative. I'm sure, you go online again, you can look at different workouts. Obviously the conventional push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, things like that. But there's a lot of other things you can do. You can work on your body. You can work on your running. Some guys, I've heard of guys trying to retrain themselves on how to run. And you have plenty of time just working on your form and trying to get faster, working on your footwork, and you don't need a ton of room on that. You can shuffle, you can use cones, you can find a jump rope, get quicker. And again, it just takes you and the initiative to be able to do that. And some of those things don't require a lot of space.
Yeah, so true. Coach Galloway, any thoughts there? Or?
Yeah, I have found in the last couple of weeks, and for me, again, seeing this as an opportunity, this is one of the few times I feel like I could really just focus on my development physically. And one of the challenges I've tried to present to myself, and I know I've talked to some other players about it, is, do something you haven't done. I play wall ball as many days as I can. I try to get at least 5 days a week now. That the basic skills, as Coach Tillman mentioned, talking about the conditioning and your development of your body physically. And, this is probably the most online workouts I've ever seen posted and will ever see again. What I would encourage you to do is try something out of your comfort zone. I know right now for me, that's yoga. I'm trying yoga in the morning. It's not something I'm any good at, but I have all the time in the world to be able to figure it out. So again, I would challenge yourself to get outside your comfort zone. I know a lot of people that are learning how to play instruments right now, or learning how to speak a different language. And if you're thinking from a specific lacrosse standpoint, what's something you haven't done, that you haven't taken the time to develop, that you could differentiate yourself with? And for me, yoga is an example. It could be for an offensive player, learning how to play defense, to separate yourself in the fall when you do arrive on campus, or if you're a young man that plays face-off and you want to develop a skill set offensively. It could be a variety of things, but this is, again, an opportunity to differentiate yourself, because there's a lot of kids out there that are going to sit on their couch for the next 5 months. It's exactly what I told our team. Some guys are going to come back and have not played lacrosse for nearly half of a year. And those guys are going to get passed by pretty quickly in terms of the trust of the coaches. And don't put yourself in that position on day one to wonder, oh man, what could have been over the summer.
Yeah, all really, really great, great advice for these guys. And I'm always curious, as obviously as a high school coach, and things that I'm taking notes as I'm going here, as you guys are dropping knowledge here. And I always love to kind of tell whether it's a summer event or a game, what are you guys looking for? When you think of, character traits of a high school player, what is it that kind of like, catches your eye and, makes you kind of jot down a note? What are, I'm just curious in terms, for these guys, maybe expand a little bit on what it is you're looking for as you're out there evaluating. And Coach Galloway, why don't you go ahead and start with this one?
Yeah, I don't want to keep it too simple, but at the same time, I think it is. First and foremost, it is body language for me specifically. I think that speaks dividends in the midst of a battle, and I'm going to really rely on our team's core values, because when I think about it, and I think ultimately about recruiting, I do think I look for these 4 things, and they're really simple. One of them is grit. So that's just physical toughness. So a brand of lacrosse that you play. Are you a guy? I think every coach in Division I doesn't want to be a team known that's not tough. I think that's something that you can showcase in these events. The second one is resiliency. So mental toughness, and looking for a tangible there. What's it like when your team's losing? I've watched club teams that are losing, and it's really ugly. And I've watched club teams that are losing, and it's admirable based on how they handle those situations and how they fight back. The third one is passion. And that for me is the intangible that we need to do a better job of recruiting. I've noticed in my first 4 years, that's something that I may have sacrificed passion for talent. And once you get into college lacrosse and you practice every day, and then you have to go to lift, and then you have to go to study tables, you can't exude that type of passion and enthusiasm on the practice field, you will struggle, and you'll hurt the development and tone of our practice and our team. And then the fourth one is tradition. And I know that might sound silly to try to apply, but I would look at it a different way. For example, a club program to say, how much do you really care about playing for a specific team, whether it is your high school or it is this club? Is that really important to you? Do you care about the jersey that you put on, or is it just another tournament for you in the midst of the next individual showcase, in the midst of your ultimate goal of getting recruited? And if you can turn that perspective to, I'm playing for this team because I want to show my physical toughness and my grit. I'd like to be able to handle tough situations and be resilient. I'm going to play passionately every time we have a chance to practice and then play in games. And ultimately, I really care about the product of what we show. And I think that, those are our core values. And I may be, pigeonholing some things, but those things are what we look for in our program. And I think it'd be silly not to look for them on the field recruiting.
Great. Thank you. Coach Tills?
Yeah, I think, and John, I think John's got 4 great ones there. Great things to focus on. Some other ones, I think, in addition to that, finding competitive guys. So much of life is competition. Even right now, right? We're kind of cooped up right now. If you're kind of struggling right now, like finding things to compete in, whether it's, your family playing cards or a board game or, things like that, like somebody that likes the competition, because a lot of it is competing against yourself to be the best version of yourself and not being satisfied and being a guy that always is trying to get better, but also loving the competition and practice every day. Not just somebody who likes to score goals because it looks cool and I get a lot of attention. I just love going out and competing against somebody at anything. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but in that moment, to me, it's just so much fun. And I think playing multiple sports is great for that. Obviously, not something we can do right now, but somebody that loves, you're playing pickup basketball and you just don't want to lose and you hate that feeling. So you find somebody that's competitive, whether it's a ground ball or trying to make a tough defensive stand, to John's point, it's not going well, but you're trying to compete for that ground ball to maybe get us some energy or get us that one little momentum play. Guys that want to be challenged, that like to be pushed, that want to be coached, that want to be great. there are huddles on the sideline, and you're in there and you're looking at the coaches. You're not on the outside and, just kind of hanging out over there. You're trying to make sure that you're getting whatever the coach needs. I'm listening to, but I also want to be there with my teammates. So I'm going to be engaged and be part of that. The energy part, I think John mentioned that body language. Not every day's magic. Preseason's tough. Even in the middle of the season, those Mondays can be tough. You can't just mail in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to try to get to Saturday. There's a lot of work that you need. And, you read just about any really good coaching book. You're either taking energy or providing energy. And good leaders and good players realize when there's a void and they try to help fill that, whether it's they do it or they try to encourage somebody else to provide it as well. But that energy goes a long way. And we don't take that for granted. So you need self-starters, guys that love that competition. They love that energy. So you got to find those guys. If you're watching a guy, very bad body language, pointing the finger, just doesn't communicate well on defense, just kind of goes through the motions, that might be tough. I think John would say the same thing. We go to tournaments, it's very rare that we walk away going, well, he scored the most goals or had the most assists, had the most takeaway checks. Okay, so that's our guy. You realize, you get to the next level, you're going to be playing with very good players. It's more, okay, do they have the skill set that can be conducive for college, but can they play with others? One-dimensional players don't allow you a lot of flexibility. Flexible players allow you to do a lot more with your schemes on offense, but flexible players allow you to make room for maybe somebody who is just a lefty shooter. So the more you can diversify your skill set, to John's point, we were talking about playing offense, playing defense, you can feed, you can dodge, you can play inside, you can dodge on the outside. Now it gives the coach just so many different opportunities to get you on the field. So, having a well-rounded skill set, understanding the game, being able to play different positions is huge.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful. And as we mentioned earlier, you have, a range of ages on this call here tonight. And, with that, there's also a range of positions, and there are a few kind of specialty positions, that I'm sure there are guys that are wondering, hey, I'm a goalie, it's going to be hard for me maybe to kind of, get shots right now. Coach Galloway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and maybe some of those things that those guys can do. And also the face-off guys, right? Like, what are some of the things, you guys are recommending for your players in those two positions, maybe in particular, that they should be doing over these next few weeks or months?
Yeah, I'll start for the goalies. You're probably the answers that you guys have thought of, and I see in the chat that you've mentioned a little bit. But the ability to work on your footwork, that's always our number one target. The ability to just have comfort with your stick. Again, I give you a quick anecdote of my story. When I got to Syracuse, I wasn't the best ball stopper, but my way to differentiate myself was with my stick skills. And what an opportunity to become that goalie that is the one that coaches trust with the ball in their stick, and that you can make opponents pay for that. But the one thing I would add, and something that I've been doing, and it's a really simple drill. It doesn't take much other than some tennis balls and a tennis racket. But I had my wife in the garage the other day hitting tennis balls at me. And I know it sounds funny, but it's the only thing that you can do without a true trained shooter to be able to provide some velocity on the ball. And it's something that we'll continue to do. It's a different release point. It allows you to be 6 feet apart. And, my wife was talking trash to me every time she scored. So there was a little bit of a competitive edge to it as well. But I'm finding new ways to improve my game. And I think that for goalies, you can be innovative with how you get shots with a brother or sister, a mom, a dad who can find a way to give you some velocity. And, again, it's a great time not to use lacrosse balls. Use some tennis balls, use some softer rubber balls, find ways to train without contact, and then the yoga. The yoga is the last piece I would add. It's something that I did a lot of more hip mobility and yoga 2 times. Once when I was in college as a junior, and it was the best year I had in my career. And then again in 2014 when Coach Janowski bought me a yoga mat and a yoga instructional video, and I went to work with it, and that was my second best year I've ever had as a player. So find the things within your position that might be impactful. As for the face-offs, I know we have a tool that we sent to our guys. It's a little bit of a resistance band. I reached out to Coach Grenlian and picked his brain on things that he was doing. And I won't claim to be an expert at that position, but I do think that there's, my face-off guys joked the other day that they socially distance from practice almost the entire time anyway. So they'll be fine to figure it out, and I'm sure they will.
Good point. Thanks. Coach Tills, anything?
Yeah, I think John's point about the yoga and the flexibility piece, and if you're not doing yoga is very humbling. My first experience was hot yoga, and I was that guy with the baggy shorts on, and everybody kind of turned and looked at and kind of laughed at, and I couldn't do anything. But it was hard. But we've done that as well. And if you can't do yoga, flexibility, stretching, it's probably something that, looking at, I talk to our guys about it all the time. I was awful at stretching when I was younger. I didn't have the patience. Most guys aren't wired that way. But you think about that face-off position, you're in such a compromising position, working on your flexibility, working on your balance, working on not necessarily just your big muscle groups, some of your small muscle groups, that all work together. And those are things you can find online, but, just your balance, I think, is huge for face-off guys. Great time to improve your stick work, great time to work on, especially if you're cooped up with your family and you have some siblings and you're all going to be there together, right? You can, have a ball get, thrown out and deal with a little bit of pressure and have to navigate that pressure and be uncomfortable, to John's point earlier, just be in uncomfortable spots and try to get more comfort there. I'm one of those guys that face-off position is huge, but I do think it's a lot like a running back in football. There's only so much tread on those tires, and there's that sweet spot we're trying to get with all of us as coaches, like enough reps that you feel like you're ready, prepared, and you're confident, but not so many that we're putting stress on muscle groups. You're wearing down. You're all of a sudden, you've got these shoulder issues. You're taking a lot of hits. Sometimes more is not more. And it's not just winning the clamp. It's your instincts, your stick skills, your ability to handle pressure. Those are great things, especially if you have siblings or, John obviously is being creative there with his wife. Like, there are things that you can do to try to make it work. And again, it's something you could do with your family if you're cooped up.
Yeah, thanks. And some really, really important advice there from you guys. And thank you for that. I think it's obviously not an understatement to say there's some anxiety about the summer and what that might look like. And, and not to get too deep into this, but just a thought for love to hear your thoughts on some of the talk that's, at the college level, about, this coming summer and maybe the fall. If you guys have any thoughts there. Coach Tills, just I don't know if you've had any thoughts about this or not.
No, I think again, anytime there's uncertainty, the first thought is, oh my God, like, you sometimes fear the worst, and so there's some anxiety, and that's, I think, a big reason why the three of us are here, just to try to help people with that. As much as guys want to be seen and recruited, we want to go out and see players, and knowing that, listen, we're in a holding period. We're, again, just like now, we're all going to have to be creative. Maybe things get worked out a little bit later. Maybe we go back to a model just because of where we are that is maybe healthier, right? We actually aren't making decisions and evaluations on players till they're seniors, and that may end up helping Not only the coaches find the right players, but also, the players finding the right fit. Whereas, with some of the early recruiting that happened, there were some mistakes made on all sides because, the way you look at life as a junior, senior, certainly much different than the experiences that you've had as a freshman. You're exposed to so much more. So it could turn into a positive. I don't think anybody is looking at the summer and going, all right, we're just going to go to one or two events and make some decisions. I think we're all trying to build the best class of players that for us and our university, and that takes time. And I think if anything, we learned a few years ago, the worst thing that we can do is rush this thing. So I think we're all going to have to be patient together and just navigate this together and realize the process is probably going to be a little bit longer, but that could really work out for the people that are taking advantage of this time to develop as players.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. Coach Galloway, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I actually thought a lot about this after our conversation the other day, and it dawned on me that people were panicking. I think coaches were initially concerned about what the next few months could look like, and then I realized this really is just how the process was when I was coming out of high school, and this isn't a process that's ending for young men, and college lacrosse recruiting isn't going to end because of this. This is just going to put us in a position to allow you to evaluate. In a lot of ways, this is going to benefit, like Coach Tillman said, so many players who are continuing to develop right now and playing into their senior fall and making decisions academically that fit them because it's the right fit for them. And this is going to put the onus back on you over the next 3 to 5 months to start to think about what's important to you. Think about what you might want to study or what universities actually do have programs of interest. And you guys are going to come out of this thing much more informed. And I think we're going to come out of it enthusiastic to get back on the road and a little bit more purposeful about what our roster needs. So as frustrating as it is right now in the moment, I think if you just take a step away from this and look at the calendar for all those kids that are getting ready to go into their senior year, who are obviously immediately impacted by this, to understand that this is how it used to be, and in a lot of ways, this is how it should be. And that's going to give us the chance to be thorough over the next year and a half, and for you guys to do just the same.
Yeah, I really appreciate both of your comments there. And one of the things that I've tried to have reinforced with our families is this idea, of being flexible and being nimble, and kind of just doing our part to make sure we're presenting the very best of us, right? And whether that's in late July or it's in September or October, I'm fully confident that, I know how hard you all work, and I know that, you guys will be out there and making sure you're getting to see these guys as much as you can. So I really, that was great points you both made. And, I'm curious, kind of go back to your experiences, both as head coaches of, and kind of your messaging and, just curious what you told your teams, and to do in this time, like what are you saying? Here are the 2 or 3 things that I want you to focus on over the next 2-3 months before you come back to campus. And I know we touched on some of it, but just want to revisit some of that in case some people joined us late, because I think it's super important. And, Coach Tillman said it earlier, I believe in my heart we have, 2 of the finest people in the game right here. And, selfishly, I'd love to hear it again so I can tell our team. But I know that there are a lot of guys listening that would love to hear it.
I'll defer. I'll let you go. I think I went first last time, John, so
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think specifically for our team, and I think it does translate to everybody that's going through this right now. First and foremost, it was to start to create a routine for yourself. I can confidently say, as a high school kid or a college kid, that this free time would mean sleeping till 10 or 11 and rolling out of bed and kind of figuring it out from there. And I think that's the worst thing that our guys could do. So we put huge emphasis, not only with us, our staff, our support staff, our academic advisors about creating daily planners. And I know it sounds simple. I have it in my phone. I have a note on my phone for every single day, and it breaks down my when I'm doing yoga, when I'm doing wall ball, and when I'm working out. And those are my 3 requirements throughout the day. I break out chunks of time to read, and you'd be amazed how much free time I still have. I still am trying to find ways to fill that. So for our team and for anybody, I think ability to create a routine for yourself in a time where you can all of a sudden roll over on the couch and it's 4:30 and you haven't accomplished any of your goals. So hold that level of accountability by putting it on paper. And I think that that's something I found, even for me, that has made me stick to my regimen throughout the day. The second piece would be the mental component. I thought that as a team, one thing we did this year was invest a lot more in educating ourselves how to lead. We had a leadership council and we didn't educate them on what leadership was. So something we started to do was implement book readings and chapters and having the guys share, which was really basic and simple in nature, but the guys started to grasp it. So what we've done as a coaching staff is we chose 8 of our favorite books, purchased them, and then sent them around our team all over the country. We represent 19 different states. So there's a different book in every state right now. Guys have to read a couple chapters, take notes, highlight, share notes to their teammates, and then pass that book along. And my hope is after this summer that we have this wealth of knowledge now, not only from the coaching staff, but from other people. And if we can essentially quasi hire 8 authors to teach our guys in some way organically, that's going to put our team in a much better position, whether it's about leadership or mental and physical toughness, or there's some books that have nothing to do with athletics. It could be more about organizational leadership. And we have focused on trying to be as diverse as possible with those books. And then the third piece, I do just go back to the physical component. I mean, we have so much time in the day to change our body, and it doesn't require you to sacrifice your day. Whereas our team during the spring, they get in a 45-minute to an hour lift right in between practice and running to dinner or study tables. And that's always a crunch. There's guys that usually want to stay after. There's guys that are rushing to go get a shower to get back to the night class. This is the only time where you can really sit down and explore physically what you want to accomplish. And again, that goes back to the yoga or, a push-up timer throughout the day. Small little incremental things. I'm not asking our guys to change their outlook on how they work out. I'm asking them to change the procedures for which they do work out and to get a little bit creative with how they do that.
Thank you. Coach Tills, any additions?
Yeah, I think John's, some awesome points there. And I think I think John's probably feels the same way when we all went away. I think the biggest concern for all of us was, okay, we aren't there for our guys, and our academic advisor isn't there for our guys. So let's make sure we get the academic piece set first. And so we divided up our team, or we have 5 groups, and we have about 10 guys in each group, and we have the 4 coaches, and our director of ops oversees each one. So we have a little smaller group that we can work with. And you're just checking on those guys. Listen, when you're at school, you have that structure, you have that routine, and you feel so much better because you're just day to day, where to go, and you're in the class typically, and not having that structure. And so now it's a matter of, okay, all right, let's find out when everything is due. Let's follow up. How you doing with that? Have you started it yet? How did that go? So just to make sure in this new world that we're in that, we're getting off to a good start. And then as we started to do that, some of the other things became important too, to John's point, whether it's, physically trying to work on your body, or, John talked about the videos earlier, you can watch some of your own games online, and, maybe you were a guy that played a lot. You can go back and kind of see some of our games, things that you felt like you did well, you didn't do well. Or if you're a younger player, you can watch some of the defensive film and see what we're doing, and maybe go through it, with an older player, FaceTiming it. So an older player can help a younger player, and the younger player, can kind of get a better understanding of things. So again, using that time wisely, and then things that you feel like you're not great at, what are those things? Attack those things. Don't run from those things.
Yeah, and I know we've talked a lot tonight about kind of the individual and skills and things we can do as individuals, but I know that both of you believe in talk an awful lot about what it means to be a teammate, and you know I'd love for you to each kind of share a little bit on some of your thoughts for the young men that are out here listening to this on what are some of the things they may be able to do to continue to be a good teammate through all this, and even though they may be a couple miles apart, how maybe they can stay connected with their teammates. And, maybe Coach Tills. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think if you're an older member of the team, that's part of the responsibility is, checking on those guys, and just, again, if you're one of the three captains or you're a senior, maybe you divide up the team and you're just checking on guys and making sure they're doing okay. And it's not just lacrosse oriented, just, hey man, how you doing? How you feeling? I know it's hard, how you doing with everything, and really, sometimes we see each other and go, hey, how you doing? It's the same as saying hello, and you don't take the time to kind of read their body language and see, all right, and typically we say, okay, not bad, I'm doing well. Do they mean it? And again, maybe that's where you FaceTime, because instead of just shooting the text, right, FaceTime and see their face, right? You guys can see us right now. I have a face for radio. But you get a lot more personal connection, and I know it's been important for our guys. The Zooms, we just get to see each other, and that in itself just kind of makes you smile. Don't just text, hear the voice in the call or FaceTime or Zoom, and just keep an eye on your guys. And maybe it's by position, maybe it's the older guys taking care of the younger guys. And just make sure those guys are doing okay, because there's going to be moments, maybe there's somebody that that's in the hospital, and maybe your parents are, and it's a tough spot for their business. Just check on them.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Galloway. Any piece there?
Yeah, I don't want to expand too much on that, because I think Coach Tillman hit it on the head. But what I will say is, I do think these Zoom calls, while we've never used it in the past, are going to become part of what we do in a routine, because it is so important to see each other. And I think for our team, it was encouraging to see last week. We have most of our guys, our upperclassmen, actually stayed here in Jacksonville because they all have houses at the beach, and they didn't want to go back into the hot spots. And they had a meal together. They had an Easter meal together, and their parents were sharing pictures with me. So if they were being, intelligent, socially distancing, the time spent together, if not, these Zoom calls, there's something about face-to-face interaction that you haven't had where you actually have authentic conversation. I can tell you that between me and all my teammates at Syracuse, it's been some of the best conversations I've had in 10 years since I've graduated over Zoom. That's allowed us to come together closer. So in a lot of ways, this whole pandemic has given us the chance to step back and reflect on some relationships. And if I was a teammate, that would be something I would do. I mean, you can't talk about lacrosse all day long, but you can still build relationships. And I think this whole thing has reminded us of how important those are.
Yeah, I appreciate that from both of you. That the one thing that I have certainly taken away, is just the importance of that connectedness. And it's we're pack animals, and we need each other. And so I would encourage you guys that if you haven't done so, go ahead and organize a group chat via Zoom or via all those other ways you can do it, and have that face to face. And I was on one last night with a group of players, and I just kind of sat back and let the banter happen. And it was great. It was great. So I honestly, I think that would be really valuable for you guys as teammates to do your part. And as both Coach Tillman and Coach Galloway both said, they couldn't have put it better. We're quickly, believe it or not, coming up on an hour. And just, I guess my final question is, and I think we've touched on it a little bit, but what are your takeaways? What are your, making lemonade out of lemons in these moments? What are your takeaways that maybe you could share with the group about this shelter in place and COVID and this pandemic and everything that we're going through, that you could share in the final moments of this meeting. Coach Galloway, I see a nod. Maybe you had something there.
Oh yeah, I can share. I think first and foremost, I talked to a peer of mine, a coaching friend of mine today, and the ability to spend time with family this time of year is uncanny. I mean, to have this amount of time in the spring, potentially sometime in the summer, to actually really enjoy time with family and have a chance to kind of rebuild those relationships and spend genuine time building on those has been really important. And we talked all about the physical and all the opportunity versus obstacle going into the development of player. But I would say the last piece would be just your appreciation for normalcy, your appreciation for the day-to-day grind once we get out of this. I mean, we're going to all go back to our first practice, our first conditioning test, our first day at work, and there's going to be a lot of smiles. And I think that we just have to remind ourselves that day is coming and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And when it does, we're going to have great appreciation and gratitude for all that we do have.
Yeah, that's great. Coach Tillman.
Yeah, 100%. I think that first day back is going to be like magic. It is. It just seeing the guys. I think, obviously you two, Coach, and so much of it is just being around the guys and being together. And I think the Zooms have just getting on those Zooms, and you're reminded of so much of what we do is relationship based. And I think as coaches, like, we feel very blessed. The guys that we coach help keep us young. They just do. If players came into college perfect, they just wouldn't need us, or high school. Like, there's no need for us, right? So people helped us. So we're trying to help them. And sometimes it leads to, during their journey, some interesting conversations. Why did that seem like a good idea? But I think we all look back and go, you know what, I was them once, and, we try to help them. And I think we have a great appreciation for all those moments. I've done a couple Zoom calls with college guys, and to John's point, they are hilarious. It's just, it's just so funny connecting with everybody. And you're right. Like, we're doing things that we wouldn't get to do. So what can you do now that normally you wouldn't, and, is it learning a new instrument? You have something lying around, and, or is it a book, that, you're trying to get to, or a certain skill. The big thing I've heard talking to a lot of guys is, they've learned more about how to cook. And I think that is huge, right? Like, you get to college and, guys know how to navigate their way around the microwave. And that's about as extensive as it gets. But, you're going to eat as a family every night. Why not learn a little bit more? So when you get on your own, listen, you can make a few more things, right? And you're going to eat every day anyway. Why not offer to help in the kitchen? And you're actually going to get something out of it too. So you got all these different things you can do. If you like watching movies, go on the History Channel. You might learn something about history just by watching. If you don't like reading and that's not your thing, all right, well, that may help you for a class down the road. So there are certainly some creative things that you can do. I think a sense of humor goes a long way, and I think that's part of what makes lacrosse players a little bit different, knowing that you're not going to make $1 million in most cases. So, those relationships, those friendships, and part of that comes from, the guys not letting you take yourself too seriously. And that's fun to connect with those guys.
Yeah, thank you. And, the one thing I've been reflecting on a lot lately is, and I know there are guys out here right now that we're talking with are struggling with this on distant learning stuff, and it's hard, but it relates to everything that Coach Tillman and Coach Galloway just said, which is it's that connectedness, it's the relational piece, and what I do know is that we will all get through this, and we're all going to come out on the other end of it. I think a little bit better, and a little bit stronger, and a little more resilient, as Coach Galloway said earlier. I think that's a big part of that, this whole thing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated doing this tonight with you, Coach Tillman and Coach Galloway. It was an honor and a pleasure, and I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us, and certainly I know John and I, just getting prepped for this. I learned a few things from John and from you all as well. So thanks for that. And I think you said it well. We'll get through this, and this will give us a perspective down the road when we run into some different challenges. We can look back and go, hey, it's not as bad as what we went through, that spring of 20. And sometimes that perspective does help us, but we'll get through it because everybody's going to look out for each other and everybody's going to take care of each other. And that's the nature of our country. We are resilient. And so we just got to keep fighting every day, do our part, and maximize our time.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
thanks, Coach Galloway. Thanks, Coach Tillman. You guys are the best.
Thank you guys for having us.
On behalf of everyone at Sweet Lax, we can't thank you enough, Coach Wynn, Coach Tillman, Coach Galloway, for sharing a good hour and a half out of your week to spend time with us, and thanks for meeting with us yesterday. For everybody that's still watching, we've got a couple hundred people still watching right now at the tail end of this, and we put a lot of thought into how this past hour was going to go. We know there's a lot of anxiety that parents, especially in the 21 and 22 class, have got. And our kind of sentiment was that ultimately every day to be successful in anything, you got to wake up and just worry about working hard that day to get better. And you control what you can control. And, there's a lot of uncertainty that we're all going to face in the next couple of months as club directors, as college coaches, as high school coaches that care about the college placement of their players, and as parents that work hard their whole lives to provide their children with the best possible opportunities. And I think the thing that has been most enriching out of the last hour of listening to Coach Tillman and Coach Galloway share with all of us is that at the end of the day, wake up and get to work and chase the things that you're passionate about and become the best you're capable of becoming at those things, and the rest will take care of itself. So if your son or you, the son that's listening to us right now, keeps waking up every day, working hard and chasing your goals and dreams with a relentless passion and enthusiasm and a work ethic that's second to none, you're going to be successful in life no matter where you get recruited, no matter what school you end up at. And as soon as these coaches get the chance to get out on the sidelines and watch you play, you're going to be in the best possible position to be successful. And at the end of the day, that's the message I think that all four of us want to get to you tonight. And we'll continue to have these coaches roundtables and continue to update you on the situation. But I think it would be a little bit sillier and somewhat irresponsible for us to speculate beyond the natural law principles of success that Coach Tillman and Coach Galloway both spoke about today. So get up tomorrow and work as hard as you can to be the best that you can be by the end of the day tomorrow, and everything will take care of itself. So thank you, Coach Wynn, Coach Tillman, Coach Galloway. Really appreciate all your time, and thank you to everybody that tuned in to watch. Have a great night and stay healthy.
Coach Dugan, we got to do something about the makeup artist for this. If there's a next one of these,
I want to wear my hat, Coach. Joe doesn't want me to wear the hat too much. I might need to get a haircut.
Exactly.
Thanks,
you guys are great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Take care.
Have a great
Hey,
night, guys.
Safe.
Bye, guys.